It was an ordinary day, just like any other. The sky was overcast, and a light drizzle painted the streets with a glistening sheen. I was walking home, lost in my thoughts, when I heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible whimper. It was so soft that I almost missed it, but something about that sound made me stop in my tracks. I turned my head, scanning the area, and that's when I saw him. Tucked under a soggy cardboard box, shivering and soaked to the bone, was a tiny puppy. His fur was matted, his ribs visible through his thin frame, and his eyes, those big, soulful eyes, were filled with fear and desperation. My heart sank. I couldn't just walk away. I knelt down slowly, careful not to startle him. He flinched as I reached out, but I kept my voice soft and steady. "Hey there, little guy. It's okay. You're safe now." He stared at me, unsure whether to trust me or not. I could see the conflict in his eyes, the instinct to flee versus the faint hope that maybe, just maybe, I was there to help. After what felt like an eternity, he let out a small whine and inched closer. That was all the encouragement I needed. I carefully wrapped him in my jacket, feeling how cold and fragile he was, and carried him to my car. The drive to the vet was a blur. I kept glancing at him in the rearview mirror, his tiny body curled up on the passenger seat. He was so quiet, so still, and it worried me. Was he in pain? Was he too weak to move? I didn't know, but I promised him silently that I would do everything in my power to help him. When we arrived at the clinic, the vet took one look at him and immediately sprang into action. They checked his vitals, drew blood, and ran a series of tests. The diagnosis was grim but not hopeless: malnourishment, dehydration, and a few minor infections. The vet assured me that with proper care, he could make a full recovery. Bringing him home for the first time was both exciting and nerve-wracking. I had set up a cozy corner in my living room with a soft bed, a few toys, and bowls of food and water. I placed him gently on the bed, and he looked around, his eyes wide with curiosity. It was the first time I saw a spark of life in him. He sniffed the air, tentatively licked at the water, and then, to my relief, took a few bites of food. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Over the next few days, I watched him closely. He was still skittish, still unsure of his new surroundings, but little by little, he began to trust me. I spent hours sitting by his side, talking to him, petting him, and just being there. Slowly but surely, he started to come out of his shell. His tail, which had been tucked between his legs, began to wag. His eyes, once filled with fear, now sparkled with curiosity and even a hint of mischief. It was amazing to see the transformation. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were nights when he would whimper in his sleep, no doubt haunted by memories of his past. There were days when he refused to eat, and I had to coax him with small bites of chicken or cheese. There were moments of frustration, of doubt, when I wondered if I was doing enough. But every time I looked into his eyes, I knew it was worth it. He was worth it. As the weeks went by, the changes in him became more and more apparent. His coat, once dull and patchy, grew soft and shiny. His ribs were no longer visible, and he had energy to spare. He loved playing with his toys, chasing after balls, and exploring every corner of the house. He had a favorite spot by the window where he would sit for hours, watching the world go by. And then there were the walks. Oh, how he loved his walks. His tail would wag furiously as I put on his leash, and he would practically drag me out the door. It was during one of these walks that I realized just how far he had come. The scared, helpless puppy I had found under that cardboard box was gone, replaced by a confident, happy dog who radiated joy. Rescuing him wasn't just about saving his life. It was about giving him a chance to live, to thrive, to be loved. And in return, He gave me so much more than I could have ever imagined. He taught me about resilience, about the power of love and patience, and about the incredible bond that can form between humans and animals. He reminded me that even in the darkest moments, there is always hope. Now, as I watch him run through the park, his ears flapping in the wind and his tongue lolling out in pure happiness, I can't help but feel a sense of pride. Pride in how far he's come. Pride in the life we've built together, and pride in knowing that I made a difference. Rescuing him was one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. If there's one thing I've learned from this experience, it's that every life matters. Every animal, no matter how small or broken, deserves a chance to be loved and cared for. And while the journey isn't always easy, the rewards are immeasurable. So if you ever find yourself in a position to help an animal in need, I urge you to take that leap. You might just find that, in saving them, you end up saving a little piece of yourself too.